In this video, I'm going to talk about padding and margins. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly add a couple of text areas on the page. So one that says hello world, and I'll go back over here and click my add button to add another template, and I'll have a second set of text that says hello Shogun, just to mix it up a little bit. Once we click on one of these text elements, we can go in and change some style properties here on the right hand side. And I'm going to try and quickly explain the difference between margins and padding. They're both very similar. You can add top, left, bottom, and right padding and margin. Padding makes extra space inside of an element. It pushes the content in the way. And margin makes extra space outside of the element. It pushes it away from other elements. So I'm going to try and illustrate this concept. I'm going to set a background color on both of these so that we can see exactly what happens as I set both margin and padding. So in the top text, I've made the background pink, and this bottom text, I'm going to make the background green, and then we'll experiment with margins and padding. So I mentioned that setting padding pushes content inwards. So let's try setting some padding here and see what happens on this text. So if I hold down this arrow here, you can see that it seems to just be getting bigger and bigger. And I can do the same for the left and right. You can see that the text is being pushed inwards because the padding goes around the outside of the element, but it's actually inside of the element. So let's just even all this up, 50, 50, 50, 50. Now I'm going to try and illustrate the difference between padding and margins. Margin pushes the element away from other elements. So if I set a margin here, the element itself is not going to get any bigger, but it will move further away from everything else. So if I set a margin of 50 on top, you can see that a space of 50 appears at the top, and a space of 50 is guaranteed at the bottom as well. But this doesn't make it any bigger. You can use a combination of margin and padding to have a bigger element that is also pushed away from other things. Let's just illustrate this even further. If I add margin to the left and right, you can see that this pink text box is pushed away, but it doesn't get any larger. But then if I add padding to this pink element here, let's say I add 20 to the top and bottom, you can see that it now has this extra space on the inside, so it got larger. And that's the difference between margins and padding. Let's have a look at this page. And you can see here that everything matches up the way it looks in the editor.